Hello everybody, welcome. So our next speaker today is, I hope you really enjoyed this week, and our next speaker today is Robin Christopherson, who is from AbilityNet and is a head of digital inclusion. He has won many awards for his work, featuring on many influential lists such as the world's 100 most influential people in digital government, and been awarded an MBE for services to digital inclusion, and nonetheless won an award, Tech4Good Awards, which previous winners include Stephen Hawking. So to hand you over to Deep, who will tell you a bit more about the talk coming up.
So Mr. Robin will thoroughly and wonderfully blast away any preconceptions you may have had about the potential technology has to deliver a truly inclusive digital experience for everyone. From AI to robots, from applications to wearable technologies, he'll be showing you how inclusive technology has the power to change and even transform people's lives, regardless of their ability or environment. So for any questions you may have during the talk, please directly message Daniel, and then he'll read out the questions at the end and we can address them. Without further ado, I'll now hand over to Mr. Robin for a deep dive into the technologies. Over to you.
Brilliant, thanks Deep. Welcome everybody. My speech screen read. But there's certainly been instances over the years where Remap volunteers have spent a lot of time recreating something that was already out there. So bear that in mind as well. Do a lot of Googling before you start, trying to solve problems. So very quickly about AbilityNet, we're a UK charity that is concerned with all areas of technology and disability or impairment. So, if you do want to know what's out there or a particular, set of solutions that might help a particular individual, then you can always get in contact with us. And we also do consultancy services like websites or website audits and app audits, etc., and disabled user testing. So let's go on to slide 2. Okay, I'm just going to on the audio output so that you can hear.
USA Today. Heading level 1 with technology came opportunity.
I don't know if you can hear that.
HP desktop image. HP desktop image.
HP desktop image. That's the alternative text on the image there. I'm going to turn that off. So that's what I'm listening to all the time, being a blind user myself, reliant on speech output. But let's quickly talk about the history of tech and how important it is for people with disabilities. So way back in the 80s, computers looked like this. But with the advent of the personal computer, everything changed for people with disabilities. So I had a talking computer. It was a hardware sound card, well, not a sound card, a specialized text-to-speech card, cost 750 quid. So doubled the price of the computer. Luckily now everything talks in software. If you need to have a different size text on the screen or color combination, or you just want to get a larger screen, or you have particular motor difficulties and you need a different keyboard or mouse, there were literally hundreds of solutions out there. And that's where AbilityNet was born in, being able to advise people on just what's out there and how it can help them. Then 10 odd years ago, we had the sort of second age of computing, which I would argue is now the age of extreme computing, which we're definitely living in. So, if you had a vision impairment, you could get a bigger screen, you could close the blinds in your office or at home. All of that's gone now. Now you're computing on the edge every single day. So this lady may not have a vision impairment, but she's still squinting at the screen because it's a small sheet of shiny glass on a sunny day. If you, as designers, don't provide a decent default font size, high contrasting choice of colors, etc., then she's going to suffer just like somebody would accessing that same content, for example, on a desktop browser under ideal conditions, let alone when they're trying to be out and about accessing that web page, for example. So there are so many parallels here. I could just give a few. Here's somebody, I tried to get a picture of somebody with great big sausage fingers. So just imagine that this person's got big mutant sausage fingers. Some of us do have. This person is using a phone that may be a large phone, but we don't all use massive phablet phones. Some of us have got quite sausagey fingers and it's just a normal size phone. And he, in this instance, has exactly the same requirements from a UX point of view or a UI point of view as somebody with a motor or dexterity problem 24/7, namely, minimum tappable areas like 44 by 44 px, decent separation between controls, not moving targets, that sort of thing. So what I'm saying is accessibility, even though it's something that is just thought of as being for disabled people, ain't. Not by a long shot, guys. And if you want to create products, services that are fit for purpose in the age of extreme computing, you absolutely need to get with the program or it's not going to cut it. It's absolutely not. And guess what? Other people are, particularly on iOS and with mobile responsive websites as well. There is an increasing appreciation for these requirements. Other organizations, other developers, other designers absolutely are. So you're going to be a second-rate developer or creating second-rate products if you don't get with the pro later on. Not worse, more challenging, but with more opportunities as well. So this guy, just to belabor the point a little bit more, he's got a cup of coffee in one hand and his phone in the other. So he's using his phone one-handed, and I would almost guarantee that you guys have all used your phones one-handed today already. And for that time, you are, again, temporarily, in very real terms, motor or dexterity impaired, and you need exactly the same requirements as I mentioned before. Maybe he's been on his coffee break, pre-lockdown, of course, pre-corona, and he's finally got his coffee, and now he's got 90 seconds left in his coffee break to fulfill that purchase or whatever. He needs extreme UX to do that in that time constrained way. So loads of people using mobiles every day are going to be doing things in a rush, and they need that extreme usability that the guidelines provide for people with learning or cognitive difficulties who have all the time in the world, but need that UX, that extreme UX, to be able to successfully complete the transaction, again, regardless of how much time they've got. So this is absolutely crucial stuff. If that wasn't coffee, if that was wine, think of the UX or the extreme usability that the Uber app needs to have for people to be able to successfully get a ride home after a night out on the town or whatever. You get the idea. Again, got a blank screen on a phone in a car here. You can't interact in any meaningful way in the usual way with your fingers in a car environment. So you'd use voice, for example, to be able to, or gestures, Waze, I think, supports gestures via the camera. You can wave at things to bring up stuff to report, roadkill or police camera or whatever it is. So a combination of other IO is something that you absolutely need to bear in mind. And guess what? Doing things in an accessible way will actually make them better for porting over to those other IO challenges. We'll look at smart speakers later, but absolutely, if you create content that is done with discipline when it comes to semantic markup, etc., it's going to be much easily ported over. It's going to be more screen reader friendly, speech output. I'm sure you're all aware that desktop browsers and mobile browsers, almost every single one now, has that reader mode button to get rid of ads, to make the article much easier to read, more legible. And they all have a speak out button as well, so you can actually read that, and that readability digs into the code, and if you haven't labeled an image, it's going to spout a load of horrible garbage, and that's exactly what I get as a blind user. So there's such a massive overlap now that we shouldn't really be thinking about accessibility for disabled people. In fact, the word accessibility's got too much baggage. People can't help thinking that that's for disabled customers or users. Let's talk about inclusive design now. So let's flip it around. It's the same guidelines, but flip it around. And now we're talking about designing for everybody, not just kind of turning the handle and creating stuff that's only going to work for a subset of your potential audience. And we know now on a daily basis that the average traffic to any given website is well over 50%. It's like 56% mobile. And that obviously doesn't include the apps. A load of people will go straight to apps on mobile. So we're definitely living in a mobile first world, guys. So just in case you don't think that disabled people, that there are the solutions out there, I'm talking to the converted, I'm sure here, but you heard about my speech output. So my computer talks to me, my phone talks to me, my watch talks to me, even my sunglasses. I don't know if you can see these, but these are like a smart pair of sunglasses with compass and gyroscope and speech output in the arms. It fires sound into my ears. Bose frames, if anyone's interested. And there's loads of tech out there. That's just for someone like myself who's blind. Right across the impairment spectrum, there is solutions out there, and that's why AbilityNet's kept so busy, kept keeping abreast of all of this stuff, and why I thought it was important to kind of give you a flavor of some of those solutions today, so that you know what's out there, you start feeling passionate about how empowering technology is for people with disabilities, but obviously what's in their hands and how they set that up is one thing, but then if they try to access stuff online and it's not inclusive, then obviously the whole, it's game over. It's so, you can't have any broken link in the chain. Okay, let's watch a quick video. Got a few videos, guys. I'm gonna give you a blast of an app that I use almost on a daily basis, which uses AI. This is a free one from Microsoft called Seeing AI, iOS only, but there's one called Google Lookout on Android, Envision AI is cross-platform, etc. So I'll put the speech on, the audio on, so that you can hear it as well. Here we go.
Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project for people with visual impairments. The app narrates the world around you by turning the visual world into an audible experience. Point your phone's camera, select a channel, and hear a description. The app recognizes saved friends.
Jenny near top right, 3 feet away.
Describes the people around you, including their emotions.
28-year-old female wearing glasses looking happy.
It reads text out loud as it comes into view, like on an envelope.
Kim Lawrence, P.O. Box.
Or a room entrance.
Conference 2005.
Or scan and read documents like books and letters. The app will guide you and recognize the text with its formatting.
Top and left edge is not visible. Hold steady. Lease agreement. Disagreement.
When paying with cash, the app identifies currency bills.
$20 US.
When looking for something in your pantry or at the store, use the barcode scanner with audio cues to help you find what you want.
Campbell's tomato soup.
When available, hear additional product details.
Heated microwave bowl on height.
And even hear descriptions of images in other apps like Twitter by importing them into Seeing AI.
A close-up of Bill Gates.
Finally, explore our experimental features like scene descriptions to get a glimpse of the future.
I think it's a young girl throwing a frisbee in the park.
Experience the world around you with the Seeing AI app from Microsoft.
I'll just stop that there. So that gives you a flavor. This is so impressive. And as designers or developers, you guys can take advantage of APIs. There are so many out there. Microsoft's cognitive services APIs include very generous free access to those, like object recognition, text recognition, light detection, but bill reading, etc. So, those are really, really powerful that you guys could, with a couple of lines of code, include into your apps. Let's go on to the next slide.
Heading level.
I'll leave the speech on for a sec.
AbilityNet logo image.
There you go, this is what I'm hearing.
USA Today. Heading level 1A blind date with an iPhone.
I'm keeping the speech on because this is a video as well.
A blind date with
Let's go down to the play button. So I've got so much to get through. I'm not going to play all of some of the videos that we're going to show you, not for this one because it's quite long, but also it gets a bit saucy later on, but I'll start it now and then you'll see in a moment why, or I'll explain afterwards why I am showing this video.
Hey, I'm sorry I was late. Okay. I'm sorry I'm late. Parking was crazy. I haven't been here before.
It's nice to finally meet you.
It's good to meet you. That came out of your iPhone.
Yeah. I have laryngitis, so I will be communicating through my new iVoice application. I programmed all of my responses for the night.
Okay, you mean you're writing it down somehow and it's reading it back to me?
No, all my responses are pre-programmed for tonight.
So you know everything I'm going to say tonight?
Well, I know how I'm going to respond to everything you are going to say tonight.
Okay, then, what's my favorite color?
I don't know what your favorite color is, silly.
but you knew I was going to say, what's my favorite color?
I knew I was going to respond. I don't know what your favorite color is, silly.
Well, it's blue, in case you were wondering.
Oh, my brother's favorite color is blue too.
Okay, hold on. If you knew your brother's favorite color was blue too, then you would know my favorite color is blue when I asked you what's my favorite color moments ago. Statement you made.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Stop it there. So yeah, have a listen to that one. So why have I showed that one? Well, I've mentioned about specialist versus mainstream, and over the last recent years, many specialist products that cost a lot of money, because they were just built for disabled people and it was a much more limited market, have been replaced by apps like Seeing AI and here by iVoice. So before, if you had a communication difficulty like Lost Voice Guy, really, you'd have to spend literally £7,000 on an AAC device. But now you can just use something like iVoice that we've got here. Even if you've just got a temporary impairment, even if you've just sprained your wrist, you've got a bit of RSI, bit of tennis elbow, use Dragon for a few weeks, or the built-in dictation that's in every single device now. Here, she's got laryngitis, so she's going specialist, absolutely fine. The apps are free or a few pounds, why not? Really immerse yourself. Have a look in the accessibility settings in your devices. Apple have now upped the accessibility to the top level of the settings app. And if you did a mind map of the settings app in iOS, accessibility is like 2/3 of the settings. It's absolutely monster. So, really delve in. Nobody should settle for a vanilla experience. Let's move on. So, I'm going to skip over this one, but basically it's about voice control. And we had a video here of somebody using voice control to completely control everything to do with their Mac and their iPhone and their iPad using voice, but that goes for other platforms as well. But we really are living in the age of power that's out of the box, built-in inclusion that's out of the box. So the main message here is the stuff on the disabled users end is very mature, is very affordable these days. It's not just Apple. I know that a lot of people are very concerned about the pricing of Apple technologies. We're talking much more broader than just that. It's on Windows 10, it's on Android, etc. Let me just, okay, one second. What we've got up here is a picture of a smart speaker. This is the one in our kitchen. This is the third age of computing, and it's called ambient computing by many people. It's where, and it's often voice first, it's where you don't even care, you don't know or care where the brain is, or maybe where the IO device to a cloud service is. It could be a dot on your the island, the kitchen wall, as we've got here, or it could be, any number of shapes and sizes of smart, the Air and your watch replies, or, when you're out and about, you might be in a place where, the environment has been Alexified, for example. I'm not going to say a name, there's one right here. So yeah, this is the age of ambient computing. And as I mentioned, it's often a voice first, voice in, voice out type scenario. And if you can make sure that your content speaks well for someone like myself, then it's going to be able to be ported over or repurposed very easily for a smart speaker environment. And of course, many do have screens these days, but that's certainly not the norm. Most of them don't, and you certainly can't rely on that when you're developing for that platform. So create content that can speak well, and it will easily be able to be, look at Wikipedia, for example. If that was full of garbage under the hood from a code point of view, then they would have had to, and they maybe did have to do a lot of work to make that speak well for that first party integration with the Echo. And we could talk all day about connected homes and the potential there, but let's illustrate some of the power with a quick video. Apologies if anyone is insulted by this video, which gently pokes fun at the older generation, but I think it gets a point across that I'll mention afterwards. So this is a fictional product that they're bringing across here in this comedy sketch.
The new Amazon Echo has everyone asking Alexa.
You see, we're not there quite yet with the AI conversational element, but actually we're really quite close. They've literally just wrapped up this year's social bot challenge, and the winning entry was really very good, very, very impressive. So we're definitely getting there with that level of conversation, and some obviously exist more or less at the moment. The Amazon Echo has the Echo Show has a show and tell feature, which uses the camera a bit like Seeing AI. You can hold up any product in front of it and it'll tell you what it is, which is obviously aimed at the visually impaired user. So this is really, really powerful stuff. I'm very aware of time, so I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to skip over a couple of things. This is me in Barcelona wearing smart glasses, a bit like the ones I've got there, but actually now with heads-up displays, and they're incredibly useful. The main thing there, though, is that you're layering on information on the rest of, on the scene in front of you. And if you thought it was difficult to create inclusive experiences where you control, the background color, for example, then you're really going to have to think about how you can leverage AR in what you're doing in your projects, etc., but also doing that in an inclusive way. I'm probably going to raise more questions than answers here, but the main thing is that you feel comfortable with the principles of accessibility. You actually consider them in your day job while you're, working on your code, while you're building your UI. And it becomes like something that is just part of your mental checklist. And the more comfortable, the more embedded inclusion is in what you do, the more you're going to be able to look with the right, have the right approach at future platforms such as AR. I'm going to show one last video very quickly. Okay, I've got a noisy van going past. Hopefully it'll go in a second, sorry. I'm going to turn okay, here we go. Quick video. This is a real bus stop in London, by the way, guys. It's a real bus stop. I'm going to explain afterwards why I'm showing this video.
Unbelievable bus. Heading.
I'm telling you, this is how it works, man. There's a little camera right here.
So, yeah, just to finish off, because I'm very aware of time, I'll leave it there. The main message is, please do things in an inclusive way. Have a look at the guidelines, become familiar with them. You're going to be creating products that are fit for purpose going forward in screens of different sizes, platforms that are going to, spring up left, right, and center, including what we saw just then, which is transparent screens. It's definitely going to be in our future where windows that we pass every day will also be used to convey information, because why not? It will be a canvas that people will be able to take advantage of, maybe for adverts, maybe you'll be part of that, marketing industry that will be accessing that kind of platform to deliver your content. So sorry I've overrun. I'll hand back to those guys to put a Q&A slide up on the screen and we can answer some questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for that talk. There are a few questions which you have. Daniel, if you could go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay then, yeah. So anybody, if you want to ask any questions now, please send me a message to me, a direct message in the chat, but I'll kick it off with the first question. So you've talked a lot about how, you know, technology has helped you personally. Like what are like the current challenges and like what remains to be like solved that perhaps, you know, we could start to address in this hackathon?
So there's a huge potential for AI to go further, to really be able to fill in a lot of the stuff that someone like myself who can't see at all misses. Because it's one thing to be able to snap a scene and it tell you the various components, but you need to have some intelligence behind there to tell you the salient point, like, you know, there's a hole in the road that you're about to walk into or something like that. So that's really, really important. There's some perennial issues like capture images, which, you know, or capture challenges, which are evil incarnate. I'm sure you guys know that and appreciate that. And that's an arms race where it always has to be one step ahead of AI, because by definition, it can't be machine readable. So as image recognition improves and you'll be able to see which are road signs, however half covered up by trees they are, then those images of road signs are just going to get more and more obscure, and that actually makes it hard for everyone, not least people with a vision impairment or a cognitive difficulty. But for me it's impossible, because by definition they're not machine readable. So I have to go for the audio capture, and that's getting more and more difficult to understand because of audio recognition, you know, text to speech, no, speech to text recognition. So, you know, that is a perennial problem. We need to think about another solution to that. Please don't use captures, use, you know, two-factor authentication or whatever it is you can use, another way of getting around that particular challenge, because that's not going away anytime soon. So yeah, the technology's there for someone like myself. The daily challenges are around having to access stuff that isn't done in an inclusive way.
Yes. Great. Well, thank you very much. And we've got another question here, which was, so you talked a lot about how perhaps we could use, you know, like the Microsoft APIs in our project, you know, with a few lines of code and utilize that. Do you know any kind of like resources that we could use to go about that?
If you just search for Cognitive Services, Microsoft Cognitive Services API, you'll get the information on that. I don't know what you guys learn from a code point of view at the moment, but Swift is the future. I don't want to put my foot in it if you guys aren't using Swift, but Swift is definitely the future, and Swift UI is definitely the future of UIs, of user interfaces, because then all the heavy lifting is done, and it's cross-platform. So, you know, it's not contrary to the, you know, I think it can be ported onto other platforms as well. We're not just talking Apple here.
All right.
So I would definitely see that as the way forward. I can't remember the question now. What was the question? Oh yeah, how do you access those APIs? Well, so yeah, talking about a few lines of code, don't do anything custom if you can possibly help it. I know designers particularly love custom controls. Don't do it. Stick with stock stuff. They look sexy. They are more consistent. People know how to control them. With something like Swift UI, you can literally create a screen of an app in 5 lines of code, and everything will resize. It will be completely accessible. You'll be conformant with the, you know, it'll be updated as the OS updates its UI guidelines, etc. So you get all of that free of charge. So stay standard, please, is a really big tip.
Okay, there's another question. In your personal experience, do you feel that the custom specialized solutions are more effective, or do you think it's more of the generic solutions which are applicable to a wider range? So
I think there's always going to be need for specialists. So a braille display, for example, which brings up the 40 cells, say, of braille with pins that go up and down. So it gives you dynamic braille, the equivalent of what is being spoken out to you, for example. So for someone who's deafblind, that's absolutely essential, and that's never going to be built in. So there's always going to be a need for specialists. But on the whole, if you can stay mainstream, then, so for example, that Seeing AI app, there are specialist, there's a device called the OrCam, which you clip onto your glasses and you can recognize objects and stuff like that, £4,000. And it doesn't do anything that Seeing AI doesn't do. But it's definitely useful for someone who is never going to get to grips with a smartphone, for example, and just wants simplicity and has got loads and loads and loads and loads of money. So, there's always going to be a need for specialists. And going back to the project that you guys are involved in, there's always going to be a need for bespoke as well, at the very extreme. But certainly I don't look back at the days where I had a backpack full of stuff. I had a talking GPS thing, 750 quid, talking note taker, 1500, talking MP3 player and book reader, 275. I could go on and on, talking barcode scanner, all of those, hundreds of pounds, each had their own different charger and cable, etc. So tens of thousands of pounds worth of stuff. I haven't got any of that now. All of that's done with my phone and free apps. So yeah, I don't kind of look back at those days and think, yeah, it was brilliant before everything was mainstream. So, but yeah, there'll always be a market for people that need a really easy way of doing something and who don't, for example, want to have to access a smartphone. I think that's where smart speakers are hugely useful as well, though, because, you can get information, you can even read your email and do calls, and Zoom's going to have built-in functionality soon. And you can control your environment and stuff like that. All of that was bespoke before. My sister, who's blind as well, but also has MS, she has a Chameleon, which is £7,000 worth of special kit. And all it does is she bangs something with her head. She bangs a button, a big button. And that very painfully goes down through spoken menus. And she'll get down to the one about the TV. She'll bang her head again. It'll speak down through the channels. She'll bang it again. So it'll take whole minutes just to change the channel. But now she can just say, "Hey lady, BBC Two." So, we're living in brilliant times.
Great. Thank you for that. Thank you for answering the question. Thank you for the very informative presentation. I'm sure the participants now know a lot more of how technology is helping them, and I'm sure your sharing your personal experiences resonated with them. In addition, the key factors to keep in mind while designing solutions, especially in the age of extreme computing, as you put it, was really interesting for me. The examples you brought forth were truly a mind opener, like the spoken pre-programmed responses and also the vast solutions available out there, even free of cost, like the Seeing AI. It really helps you think about the great inclusivity it is out there. So thank you for that presentation, and thank you to all the participants for joining in. Please keep up the hard work on your projects and ideas for creating a better world through inclusive design. We look forward to staying in touch with you through the Slack channels over the afternoon and the evening. So be sure to ask any questions you have and make the most of this opportunity to learn from the experts.
That's all for today, but make sure you get back online for our next talk tomorrow at 1 p.m, I think, with Ian McKinnon, who is the co-founder and director of operations and inclusive design at the Disability Design Innovation Hub, who will talk about his own work at the inclusive design at the London 2012 Olympics, as well as his own personal reflections. So see you there. It should be great.
Thank you all for joining.
Thanks, guys.